my job is to adapt to how the filmmaker is kind of like, my craft needs to be fluid enough. And yet I've achieved something and I'm like, how did this happen? I'm not used to this. Paatal Lok was like the most, I'd say, crazy set. It doesn't mean that we weren't getting real work done. Why do you want to do it? So I didn't quit my work for 6 years. 6 years I was doing both. It's like, go, there's no space for you here now, go.
Hello to everyone who's watching us on Mamaraazzi. This is Amar, and today I'm joined by a very credible and reliable actor, Ishwak Singh. Hello Ishwak, how are you?
Hey.
I was going through your Wikipedia page and I read that you were training at Asmita Theatre Group way back in Delhi. So if I have to start from the start, how did it all start for you? Because कुछ actors ऐसे होते हैं जो who always know while their schooling is going on या college से कि उनको actor बनना है, and some artists are accidental. Where do you find yourself? How did it
I was
start?
a closeted actor. I always knew I wanted to act, but I was just pushing it. And I think I didn't get the right avenue. I was all looking like, even when I was in school, when I finished school, I was looking for a training ground. I just kind of figured that, those month-long workshops are not for me. I wanted to do something more solid, more, substantial. I was studying architecture, so I knew that, it will be difficult to, which I also enjoyed very much and gave me a lot. So I wanted to get done with that, because I tried to do something in the middle, but I felt that it was, it's not neither here nor there.
Yeah.
And like I said, art school is like a trip architecture school, so I was really enjoying it. So once that was done and I was out of that fantasy world and I started working as an architect, that's when I felt like, now I need to do something about this thing that's been driving me crazy since I was a kid, of, learning acting and finding out what is this mystical thing, that how people sort of transform and, become like these characters, and then this whole makeshift, make-believe world. It's like, I feel like these guys are having so much fun.
Yeah.
And see a theatre rehearsal, or even like go to a website of any of these drama schools, National Theatre, or any, National School of Drama. It just seemed like I was fascinated, very intrigued how this happens. So it was almost like at one point it was driving me crazy, and I finally said that I have to do something about it. And it's not easy when when you kind of really go out, step out of your room, and the first few steps are the most difficult to tell your family that this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like, I was doing well as an architect, I was a good student, it's kind of a set thing, because it's like a family thing. My father's also into it, and he's a master designer. So, who kind of sees me as the heir, saw me as an heir to his thing. But it was a very difficult kind of, the first few steps were very difficult. And then, you have no clue. The point is that I've got all the passion, I've got all the, will to do it, but where do I go? Who will teach me?
Yeah.
इतना मुझे पता था कि जो 1-2 महीने में कुछ नहीं सीख सकता मैं. This is just not for me. I mean, maybe people can get something out of it. I wanted to understand inside and out and do something more substantial. So again, it's like that thing that if you really seek something and you really go out there with an honest, I guess, with an open mind, then you find the path. And very organically, I got connected with one actor trainer who then, told me about, connected me with someone who's plugged into the Delhi theatre circuit, who told me about Asmita. Started with a weekend workshop and then just started doing full time.
Yeah. I remember one interview of Nasruddin Shah sir, where he was saying that till date I train myself. I'm still a student of acting. And he said theatres attract me more because that's a more polished form of acting. What are your fond memories of the theatre group, which you miss these days?
Fond memories nahi hai, because I still do plays. I did 3 plays last year. I did, and I mean to get back to stage, because it's like it's still like making fresh memories. But yes, it's not as regular. I'm not working full time like I used to go for rehearsals every day, and we'd have plays regularly. Absolutely agree with most part of it. I mean, I don't know if it's more polished or what is not. I mean, it's his, when someone like him speaks with a lot of authority. He's an institute, and experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know in what context he means that. Can't comment on that. But yes, it's something. I think it's very important to train yourself. And as you go along, I think every actor knows who has a keen interest in constantly learning, because you know that you're never good enough. You find your own ways of kind of, sort of fixing those chinks, exploring newer pastures, exploring newer methods, and things that you've gathered while shooting a film or doing a play. Think about something triggers every time. Every time, it's amazing. Every time I do a rehearsal, every time I read out a scene out, some new thought creeps in, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So this is how expansive this craft is. And especially if you're working with a good director, he's going to come and push you. He's going to come and nudge you in the right direction, or give a thought. And there have also been times that, like working with, when I was doing Berlin, that's the recent one, and something great I'm doing right now. Wonderful directors like Atul Sabharwal. So that is where, or Avinash, there's very little interaction happening with the director and the actor. Because once these are like one of those fewer, projects where I've gone like fully prepared, in the sense that I've given it whatever, all these thoughts that were creeping into my head, I gave it a shot.
Delivered, yeah.
And then of course, it's like, this is like it's like the, in writing they say a vomit draft, and then you kind of filter it, and then you crystallize it, and then you're left with few options. Then you go to set, and for the real thing, and you just want to drop all that prep, because it's already there, and just sort of see things afresh. At that time, I've reached a point where I don't have to worry about anything superficial, like let's just put it in this way, what my hands are doing. So, they say that a lot of actors wonder what are my hands doing. So when you kind of go there with this kind of some work, it's you're not thinking about any superficial things. So with, I think, Paatal Lok in Berlin, mostly what happened was that I had very little. It was almost like we were in sync.
It became more internal.
It was internal for me, but I'm saying between the director and the actor, it wasn't like he didn't have to give me 10 instructions that this is not what I want, this is what I want, because it was all there in the paper. I spent enough time with it. The directors got an approach of kind of letting the actor just find his groove and not telling him from the first take that this is how it should be. Because they've come with an open mind too. They're like, damn, this is good. Let's go with your instinct. So you have, that is, I think, where real growth happens.
Yeah.
Not entirely. I mean, also like I've also had the experience of where because some of the directors have a vision. As long as they know what they want, like that's another kind of and what these directors did, they made me feel like I was on stage. I felt like I'm in control, which is great.
Yeah.
If a director makes you feel that. On the other hand, if it's a director who kind of has a set thing and he really knows, has a vision, knows, then it's even fine to surrender, because, my job is to adapt to how the filmmaker is kind of, like, my craft needs to be fluid enough to kind of be able to give him what he wants. At the same time, if I can hold on to the essence of, how I see the character, how it's coming to me naturally. So that marriage, sometimes that can be a little tedious at times, but it's very fulfilling, because I'm not following my routine process, and yet I've achieved something and I'm like, how did this happen? I'm not used to this. It's fantastic. So that is where growth happens. In both the cases, growth happens.
Yeah, well said, because I hear a lot, like, this is a fresh approach and this is a very unique answer which you gave, because I hear a lot from actors that movie is a director's medium, you have to completely surrender. But when you're talking about the other experiences, when everything is streamlined, you might not need to. I also wanted to ask you that they say that if the vibe on the set is amazing, it eventually reflects on the screen. While I asked this question to Shahid, he said not necessarily, because for a light, fun film, there's a party going on after. But if I'm on a set of a Heather, I need to be a little dark. It needs to be a little serious. Have you been on a set where the vibe might be conducive enough, or it's not reflecting with you what you approached or what you wanted, but still the performance has been delivered or has impacted the performance in a way.
Like, you don't need to hold on to the theme of the film. That if it's a dark, that if it's crime thriller like Paatal Lok, and if there's like a grim, we're going through like sort of a certain, it's got various themes. Now the set doesn't have to be like, then doesn't have to be a pall of gloom over the set. But or if I'm doing horror, we don't all need to necessarily feel like, oh, we're being possessed or we've been possessed. But I think it's about the work. Like, you could all be very loose and easy, but then just tune in when the work happens. I think genre A, genre B, it's not so much about the genre, but it's more about, like you said, good vibe on set and not getting the vibe on set. It's when you've got, everyone knows his job, all the departments are good with, they're bringing their A game, actors are bringing their A game, the director has a clear vision, you've got a, script in place, everyone is following, or everyone is aligned in a way, as opposed to not having that kind of a connect, one hand not talking to the other. That's where the problem happens. I mean, Paatal Lok was like the most, I'd say, crazy set. It doesn't mean that we weren't getting real work done. It's like we had lighthearted moments. It was easy. Work was happening because, I mean, how long can you maintain that
True.
sort of intensity? You're working for like 3, 4, 5 months. It has to be done with ease, with relaxation. That is where, your mind would be free to kind of come up with out of the box ideas or work consistently, efficiently. If you're not tired here, you can't beat yourself too much.
Yeah, well said. You were talking about how you had a little bit of a conflict when you were entering into the theatre group, because you had already done architecture and had got a job. I have also done engineering, but I never got placed. And then I thought that I should change my field, because I realized it's at college that I'm more into writing. There were also problems with my parents. They were not ready with content writing and everything. But it was more internal. When you were venturing into it, and when your parents were not agreeing with you, was it more external or external?
No, it's not like they weren't agreeing. They were just, I think, rightly so, worried about. Because, I mean, acting does have a certain perception. Everyone is drawn, most of us are drawn towards it because of the glamour. A part of me was, but I was also very, like, I had a keen interest in the craft more than, the other aspect of it. I didn't know it so clearly because I didn't have anything to fall back on. I didn't know myself what this is. So what do I tell them? Why do you want to do it? Is the first thing people ask you, your friends and family would ask you. What do I tell? Even now it's such a, I mean, this is a mystical kind of an intangible craft where you don't, I mean, I can sort of articulate it now maybe, that there's a certain sensitivity you're born with, and there's a certain, that things affect you and you want to react to it, and acting kind of, that's why the stage or, a film set is kind of a cathartic in that way, and it also gives you that joy. Like for me, it's also about that, the joy of, going to a playground and just having fun when we were kids. For me, acting is also like that. It's like, it's that kind of playfulness. So it's all of that. How do you explain it when you haven't experienced it? But you have a sense.
Yeah, you have a sense.
You have a sense. You're not sure yourself. So I think what I did was that I didn't drop like an A-bomb on everyone. Like my approach was very sensible. I kind of joined a weekend workshops. I was only doing it on the weekends for 6 months, 3 months. Started going for the regular rehearsals. After that, once my parents had seen me perform, and those I was doing after hours, after my work. So I didn't quit my work for 6 years. 6 years I was doing both architecture and theatre, and then movie work started happening. So it was like 3 things, juggling 3 things. And after that, once I think, then started doing some good, got some good reviews on stage. Got the attention of a few filmmakers. They said some wonderful things, seen my plays. Some film work happened, a few good things were said about that. So it kind of went gradually. I think
Organically.
it was a more. My circumstances were such that I couldn't just like pack bags and just move to Bombay. And I didn't want to because I felt that I need to spend time on stage and do a set number of plays, explore. And there was a time I felt ready, and that's when my director also said that, you should go now, like don't stick around. Go, be there and give it your all.
Yeah. When did you come to Bombay?
Like I was in and out 2015 onwards, but then 2018 is when I was pushed out by my family and so they actually pushed me out, literally. My theatre group who initially tells all his actors, my director, that don't go too soon, is what he says. But when you're ready, he'll say go, don't waste your time. And similarly, like because I was so attached to the whole, like enjoying that life. You just imagine like living in Delhi, having like a good set of people around you. I've always lived, that's a beautiful city if you've grown up there, had that experience, the good part of Delhi.
Yeah.
And working on stage, that Mandi House vibe, वहाँ पे आपका, what the vibe is, that Central Delhi vibe. I was so kind of comfortable there that it was okay coming here, doing auditions and, going back. But then pretty much my mom actually was the one who was like really said, if you want to do this, just go now.
Wow.
Because I wasn't able to take that final leap of faith. She was the one who was most, not against, but didn't want, because she was kind of, for a whole lot of reasons. Then she was the one who finally pushed me out. My director was the one who finally pushed me out. He's like, go, there's no space for you here now, go. That was great, he did me a favor.
Yeah, wow.
Hi, this is Ishwak Singh and you're watching me on Mamaraazzi.